In this step, I'm going to talk about two colleagues who are my bosses and namesakes. I have called the tape James Kanyotu MONYOOTU. Kanyotu MONYOOTU, in the language that my mother's maiden language, it means muthirsty ako thirsty. James Kanyotu had thirst for properties and money, but that one will come back later. I will also comment about James Opio. James Opio, the famous Nyayo House torturer in chief. I have never met James Opio. I have met people who have met him, both as Nyayo torture chamber victims and those who worked with him or even under him. I cannot identify James Opio on the road, but recently press pictures started coming where he resembled Ojwang Hatari wa Vitimbi. Newspapers have referred to James Opio as a former deputy commissioner of police. My investigations tells me that James Opio was an assistant commissioner of police. I will give two ways of how I came to know that James Opio was an assistant commissioner of police. One, it is comments by our colleagues who are working in the normal intelligence at Nyayo House. They used to complain that he looked down upon the Nairobi area boss as though he was senior to Nairobi area boss. And they said and he is not even of the rank of the deputy Nairobi area boss. Nairobi area boss was a deputy commissioner of police. The deputy was a senior assistant commissioner. So that places Opio at the rank of assistant commissioner of police. The other issue is that Opio was working in Department X. If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll find I've talked about Channel X, especially when Raila claimed that Channel X wanted to assassinate him. At that time, Section X, not Channel X, Section X was headed by a civilian. This civilian, I've never known his name. He was deputized by a senior assistant commissioner. And then we have some subsections within Section X. These subsections were headed by assistant commissioners, and Opio was one of them. I can say before I go to Opio that this civilian, in the good work, if you can call it good, the good work he did in 1990 made him be appointed a deputy commissioner of police. He coordinated the death of Bishop Muge. He did not play a part in the death of Ouko. But when Ouko inquest was in Kisumu, he was caught red-handed. He was caught red-handed placing listening devices into Justice Gisheru's room in a posh hotel. He was accompanied by my nephew, Barnabas Lubisia. Barnabas Lubisia's mother is a first cousin of mine. She is a member of the KHWATENGE family. My grandfather was called KHWATENGE, and I am also called Khwatenge. I'm Khwatenge, my father is Lando, my grandfather Khwatenge. So among the 4 grandmothers, one is a grandmother to Lubisia's mother, and the other one is my grandmother, and plus other 2. So when this fellow did a good job, my nephew was promoted. In 1990 he was a corporal. 1991 he was an acting inspector. 1992 he was a confirmed inspector, and 1993 he was a chief inspector. On his part, this civilian head of X section was made a direct entry deputy commissioner of police. Kwa hivyo mkisikia mambo ya mamluki, sarga something, those are not the first people to be made deputy commissioners of police, only that they were foreigners. Now, why was Opio not stationed in Nyati House? Why was he stationed in? As I've said in my other tapes, and I would request you to watch other Nyayo House tapes, I said that the idea came from Ceausescu in Romania. In every province in Romania, Ceausescu had constructed a torture chamber, provincial torture chamber. So Nyayo House was provincial torture chamber for Nairobi and by extension Kenya, because we had very few political crooks. When I say political crooks, don't judge me, because I'm telling you what was there. I do not believe in what I'm passing, but I'm telling you what those people are called. I have interrogated former victims. I have also interviewed former colleagues who used to work with the Opio, under Opio. And if you were to take Opio to court today, you will not convict him. I don't know why a lot of attention is on Opio, because there was a member of the superintendents. I don't know whether Opio had a deputy, but there was one member of the superintendents, whether he was working like any other or his substantive rank was deputy to Opio. This man was either called Mushiri or Mashira or something like that. When it came to torturing people, he was leading. It is very hard for anybody to pinpoint Opio, but Mashiri, a lot of people complained. He was either a superintendent or a senior superintendent. Lastly, I would want to say Opio is leading a very terrible life, and I would request the government to round up these people who were in Nyayo torture chamber and then take them to Dr. Frank Jenga. Now to Kanyotu Monyotu. As I've said elsewhere in some of these steps, that Kanyotu and Moi convened to place Stephen Moreithi in detention so that they grab his properties. There's a company that they used to run that was owned by the 3. So when Stephen Moreithi was in detention, they grabbed his shares. I have met Kanyotu only once in my life. There's a time we came, we security personnel, whenever there is African meeting or something which is like national celebrations, security is tightened in Nairobi. They get reinforcement from outside. So we were staying in an hotel near Serena, and the hotel was called West End or something like that. It was Ambao Hotel. Somebody came, he was in jeans and he had a t-shirt. People were referring to him as Brother James. Now, he was giving us pocket money. And when it reached my turn, I told him, Brother James, I'm your namesake. So he told me, which of my 2 names do we share? I said James, but he gave me pocket money equivalent to others. His 3 names were James Kanyotu Karaoke. There is somebody who used to be called John Karaoke, who was working with parastatals, especially Postal. That was his brother. Kanyotu, as I said in other tapes, he did this thing about Goldenberg. That was a trick that he used. Goldenberg was him and Moi. Patney was just a messenger who even grabbed things there. I was talking about the hotels we used to go. We could easily be accommodated in GSU training school in Bakassi, or we could be accommodated at CID training school. But of course, even though we were not cosmen, but Askaris would not like to be accommodated. They would prefer hotels. But then there was a hidden secret there. These hotels that we used to be kept, you could find one hotel is keeping subordinate officers, another hotel keeps members of inspectorate, and another one gazetted officers. These hotels used to get all their bogas, whatever, milk, everything except sugar and salt, from eggs, kuku. They used to get it from Kanyotu's land. So that is how Kanyotu used to pay back, and they would charge special branch the way they would have wanted. He ran a number of companies, security company, real estate, and whatever. And I can tell you, as I finish what I'm saying, that special branch was corrupt through and through. Opposite Nyati House, there used to be, nowadays there's a building, but there used to be a petrol station. All special branch vehicles within and near Nairobi used to take their petrol from that. And who owned the petrol station? Mrs. Elizabeth Githunguri. Lillian Githunguri was the mother of the billionaire, and his wife was called Elizabeth. The lady, if you check properly with my tapes, you'll find that I've recorded of a lady whom Moi wanted to marry, but Githunguri took. So she was, Elizabeth was the head of administration in special branch and all special branch vehicles. Lastly, we had when we started having these HIV, special branch really took a very big insurance cover for special branch personnel. And what happened was the 10% cut. So the then director of intelligence, no, director of administration at Nyati House went and had an insurance cover. When he retired and he was replaced by Okemwa, Benson Okemwa, Okemwa was called by another insurance company where he was offered 10%. So he went and withdrew the insurance cover in the first company. The first company withdrew the cover and said that they were only going to pay 90% of the quoted money. When Benson Okemwa asked why, he was told that 10% you can recover from the person who was occupying your place before you came. Okemwa could not do that. So he took 90% and took to a second insurance company. When he took it to the second insurance company, they gave him 9%. Now you can see there was a scaling down of the insurance. There was a scaling down of the insurance such that the insurance was now being charged at 90% of what the government had planned. And then on the same level, you'll find that it took time to withdraw that money and retransfer it to the second, and a lot of our colleagues died of HIV/AIDS. In respect of their memory, HIV up to today is a sickness that you cannot mention names. I am good in mentioning names, but I'll honor the dead ones because ukimwi inaweza pata mtu yote, and that is my today's bit about Kanyotu, MONYOOTU. Thank you. Meet again in the next video. Asante.